Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to unpack ideas, sometimes surprising ones that might just change how you look at things, maybe even your own choices. Today, we're getting into something that sounds, well, almost too simple on the surface, but it's got this profound power, often quite counterintuitive. We're talking about the art of knowing when to quit.
Hmm.
Yeah, quitting. Our source material for this is a really interesting collection of excerpts called Prudence, The Art of Knowing When to Quit. And let's be clear, this isn't about, giving up when things get tough. Not in that sense. It's about a strategic mindset, one we often overlook. So our mission today, to really explore this wisdom, to understand not just what it means to stop at the right time, but why it's so crucial, why it helps get better outcomes, and maybe even more importantly, helps us dodge those unnecessary problems we sometimes create for ourselves.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because quitting, culturally, we're just so conditioned to see it as failure, like a lack of grit or perseverance. But this source, Prudence, the art of knowing when to quit, it just challenges that right away, that ingrained idea. It reframes stopping, not as defeat, but as a really strategic move, a prudent decision. It makes knowing when to step back, disengage from something into a sign of real wisdom. It's all about making smart choices, deliberate ones, instead of just blindly pushing ahead because of inertia or ego or this kind of misguided idea that, more effort always equals better results.
That reframing itself is huge. And it's right there in the title, isn't it? Prudence. That word suggests something more than just being careful. It feels like calculated judgment, discernment, and then calling it an art, not a science, not just a rule book. What does that tell us right off the bat? Why isn't it just a checklist?
Oh, calling it an art is absolutely key. Yeah. It signals we're dealing with something that, well, it goes beyond a formula. This isn't some algorithm where you plug in numbers and it spits out stop or go. No. Instead, it really demands judgment, intuition honed by experience, and skill and discernment. The right moment to quit. It's totally contextual. It changes with every single situation. It requires foresight.
Yeah.
Being able to sort of anticipate what might happen, read the direction things are heading, understand the bigger picture if you keep going versus stopping. So prudence and art work together perfectly here. It's about careful thought, making decisions, thinking about the long term, and using strategy to get the best outcome. Even if that best outcome is, well, a graceful exit. It's the opposite of being impulsive. It's about making a considered choice, taking into account all these subtle factors.
Right. That deliberateness, that thoughtful approach, that's what makes stopping an art. It reminds you this isn't about just, carelessly throwing in the towel. And the main instruction from the source is so direct, but deceptively simple. Know when to stop. 4 words. But the real challenge, I think, is in the knowing. For you listening, the idea isn't brand new. We get it intellectually, but the art is spotting that exact critical point, especially when things are complex or you're emotionally invested. What makes us push past that point, even when we kind of suspect we shouldn't? And what signals, maybe obvious, maybe subtle, should we be looking for to really know when it's time?
You've hit the nail on the head there. The difficulty isn't the words, it's putting the wisdom into practice. To truly know when to stop, you need this blend, this quite sophisticated mix of self-awareness and situational awareness. Self-awareness helps you look at your own motives honestly. Like, am I continuing just because of ego? Or this need to finish what I started no matter the cost? Or am I just so attached to this project, this idea, that I can't see is not really giving back anymore? Then there's situational awareness, being really tuned in to what's happening outside you. The market's shifting, maybe the dynamics in a relationship are changing, or unexpected hurdles just make the original plan unworkable. It's about spotting those signals, maybe a lack of progress that just persists, or poor results even when you try harder, or even just a gut feeling that something's off. And look, this isn't about giving up the moment things get hard, no. It's about making a conscious, informed decision to step away because it's actually become the smartest, the most prudent thing to do. It's admitting that maybe another path, or frankly, no path right now, might actually be better, that kind of discernment.
That's what changes stopping from feeling like failure into a strategic move. You save resources, you save energy.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective, moving from giving up to strategic disengagement. But I can imagine for a lot of people, even if they understand that, the emotional pull of perseverance or maybe the fear of regret later, it's incredibly strong. How does this art actually help someone push past those internal barriers, that sunk cost thinking, to make that conscious choice when everything inside is shouting, keep going?
Well, it's precisely by reframing the act. The art aspect helps us kind of detach our identity from the outcome. It's not me failing, it's this particular strategy or this approach that's reached its, maybe even its optimal endpoint. The source seems to suggest practicing this discernment in smaller ways first. Less risky situations, you build that muscle for objective assessment. It's about developing the courage, really, to step back emotionally and just evaluate rationally. It asks us to look at it like an outsider might. If your friend was in this exact spot, what would you tell them? Often, our advice to others is way more objective, more prudent than the advice we give ourselves.
That's a brilliant way to think about it. Yeah, externalizing it. Okay, so we have that core idea, know when to stop. Then the source gives us this vital warning, something we all kind of recognize. Don't push your luck. This isn't just about, randomly having bad luck fall on you, is it?
No, not at all.
It feels more like you create the bad luck by ignoring the signs. I picture someone who's had huge success with something, a business strategy, a personal project, and they start feeling, well, invincible. They think, it's worked great so far, why stop now?
Yeah.
We've all been there, maybe not at a casino table, but maybe in a negotiation or a creative project or even just a tough conversation. You think, okay, I made my point, but maybe just one more little thing and boom, the whole thing can unravel.
Right.
It's this almost irresistible urge sometimes. What's the core principle behind that warning?
That scenario you described, it illustrates it perfectly. Don't push your luck is fundamentally about understanding the good conditions, favorable circumstances, what we might call luck. They're rarely permanent. They're often limited, they could be cyclical, and they absolutely can and often do change. The tide turns. What was helping you can start working against you, sometimes suddenly. Pushing your luck usually comes from this dangerous assumption that a good trend will just go on forever, or failing to see you've hit diminishing returns. It's that urge to squeeze out every last bit, even when the risk of wrecking everything is climbing fast. So this warning is really about sound risk management, practical risk management. It's about having the foresight to see potential downturns coming and stepping back before they hit. It's the prudent move to prevent future losses that could wipe out everything you gained before, turning a win into a costly mistake. It's basically admitting that overconfidence can be the biggest threat to keeping your success going.
So it's not just about spotting a market peak, but seeing the peak of any favorable situation, a negotiation, a creative burst, maybe even just a period of good health.
Exactly. Any situation where things are going your way.
Okay, that idea, recognizing diminishing returns or the peak of favorability, it leads really nicely into what feels like the most proactive advice here, the most strategically positive bit, the power of quitting while ahead. Now, this feels like the really counterintuitive one for many people. It goes against our instinct and often what society tells us, right? To always maximize, push to the very end. What's the big advantage of this disciplined approach?
You're right. It takes real discipline because it fights our conditioning. We're taught, maximize everything, get every last drop. But quitting while ahead offers this powerful alternative story. The real insight is the discipline needed to walk away while things are still good. While the momentum's still there, people are impressed. The project's flying high. It's about fighting that urge for just a little more. And by doing that, you secure not just the tangible results, money, reputation, legacy, but also your mental energy, your enthusiasm for whatever's next. The benefits are huge. You lock in your gains, you avoid that awful feeling of regret from staying too long, and you keep a positive memory, a positive story around the whole thing. This isn't retreating because you're weak. It's a strategic exit born from strength and foresight. It's about maximizing value by locking in a good result now and actively preventing future losses or bad experiences. You walk away with your resources, your energy intact, ready for the next thing, instead of being burned out and full of what-ifs.
That's such a critical point, preserving mental capital, enthusiasm. It's not just about this outcome, but your ability to tackle future things. And ahead can mean so many different things, can't it?
Absolutely.
Ahead financially, sure, but ahead reputationally, emotionally, maybe even creatively, like a writer stopping work on a novel after a brilliant middle part because they know the ending isn't quite right yet, but they've saved the strength of what they do have.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Or an entrepreneur selling a successful business at its peak instead of gambling on the next market cycle. It's about seeing those different kinds of ahead and knowing the signs for each.
Exactly right. And the art really comes into play here because ahead is so varied. For a creative person, it might mean putting down the brush when the painting feels vibrant before you overwork it and it loses its spark. For a manager, maybe it's ending a successful project phase, even if you're tempted to jump right into the next one, just to preserve the team's energy and morale. It demands defining success clearly for that specific thing and then having the courage to say, okay, victory, we're done here,
Okay.
and exit. It's a strategic closing that actually boosts your reputation, leaves a good feeling, and crucially, it lets you control the story and where your energy goes next. It's a real act of agency.
Okay, let's pull this all together. This framework, Prudence, the art of knowing when to quit, it's not just a clever title. It really boils down to this essential trio of strategic wisdom. It's about timing your exit strategically, isn't it? Balancing that natural human urge to keep going, keep pushing, with the actual wisdom of knowing the best time to stop. It's knowing when to stop, understanding the risks of pushing your luck, and then strategically deciding to quit while you're still ahead.
Precisely. And what's so important here, I think, is how directly this applies to you, the listener, in just about every part of your life. This isn't advice just for, massive business deals or huge life crossroads. It's relevant to countless everyday choices. Think about how you spend your time. Maybe a hobby you started enthusiastically, but honestly, it's not really clicking anymore. Or a project at work that's just become an energy black hole where the goalposts keep shifting. Even in relationships, sometimes recognizing when a certain way of interacting or maybe a specific argument just isn't productive anymore. This whole framework gives you the power to make deliberate, thoughtful choices. Instead of just being carried along by momentum or fear of looking like a quitter or, the sunk cost fallacy, it's really about optimizing your outcomes everywhere, letting you step away with your resources, your energy, your integrity safe, preserving your capacity for what really counts.
Wow, that really puts it into perspective, a truly illuminating deep dive. So remember that core wisdom we've unpacked from Prudence, the art of knowing when to quit, really knowing when to stop, that crucial warning not to push your luck when things might be turning, and the strategic power of quitting while you're still ahead, locking in those gains and protecting your future self.
And maybe this leaves you with a question to think about, a more personal one.
Yeah.
How might actually recognizing and, embracing this art of quitting change how you approach challenges, how you look at opportunities? What might you be ahead on right now? Maybe a project, a commitment, a goal you've been chasing, maybe even a habit, where perhaps considering quitting could be the way to secure your gains, save your energy, and prevent future loss or regret. It's a powerful thought to sit with, isn't it?
It definitely is a really powerful thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep reflecting on these ideas, and we'll catch you next time for more explorations.